They called me the janitor with the badge. I guess that was their way of laughing at me. At the mop in my hand, the badge clipped to my belt that didn't match the uniform, the way I walked like someone who didn't belong on the night shift. The truth is, they were right about one thing. I didn't belong there. Every night at 11:47, I'd clock in, walk past the glass elevators, and swipe my keycard through 12 layers of corporate security, levels most janitors never even knew existed. The cameras followed me, but no one ever questioned why a maintenance worker had access to the AI control hub on floor 17. No one cared enough to notice. People like me are invisible when the sun goes down. Nexora Tower was all glass and pride, a cathedral of light stretching above the West Haven skyline. The whole city pulsed with its energy grid, its sensors, its perfect algorithm humming quietly in the background. They said Nexora ran the future. I knew better. I built it, but I never told anyone that. That night was colder than usual, the kind of cold that makes the air metallic, like the moment before a thunderstorm. I carried my mop bucket down the silent hallway, past the plaques engraved with names I used to work beside. R&D Division, Owen Trask, Chief Engineer. His name glinted in the fluorescent light, like a scar that never healed. He was the man who'd stolen everything from me. My design, my title, my life, and he didn't even remember my face. The elevator chimed. A security guard gave me a lazy nod as I stepped in. "Still cleaning this late, Ellie?" he asked. "Someone's got to keep the empire shining," I said. He laughed. I didn't. On floor 32, I stopped outside the operations office. The glass door reflected my own face. Tired eyes, uniform too loose, name tag crooked. I fixed it out of habit. Then I placed a sealed envelope on the desk inside. My resignation letter. A resignation letter for a job no one knew I had. The operations VP would find it in the morning. He'd laugh, probably toss it into the trash because who cares if a janitor quits? But this letter wasn't just a goodbye. It was a countdown. I stood there a moment longer, staring at the hum of the main servers through the glass wall. Each blinking light felt like a heartbeat. 12 years of work. 12 years of silence. 12 years of watching my own code renamed under someone else's initials. I whispered to the machines, almost gently, "Tomorrow, you're coming home." Then I left. I walked past the marble lobby out into the night. The city was alive with neon and noise, but I felt nothing. The people on the street had no idea their power, their traffic lights, their entire smart grid, all of it, ran on something I'd built in secret years ago. And no one, not the guards, not the engineers, not even Owen Trask himself, knew that I still held the master key. The one that could turn their empire dark. 3 years before I picked up a mop, I stood on the 39th floor of the same tower, wearing a blazer, not a janitor's uniform. Back then, they called me lead systems engineer. My name was on the door, at least for a while. The day it all fell apart started like any other. I was in Lab 4B, surrounded by screens, coffee cups, and the hum of servers that never slept. We'd been running stress tests on NeuralGrid, the predictive algorithm I'd built to balance the city's energy flow. It could reroute power in real time, a living nervous system for West Haven's infrastructure. It was my idea, my architecture, my code. And then he walked in, Owen Trask. Owen was Nexora's golden boy, sharp suit, easy grin, the kind of man who spoke in slogans instead of sentences. Think bigger, move faster, be legends. People loved him because he looked like the future, even though he couldn't code his way out of a command prompt. That morning, he leaned on my workstation like he owned it. "Ellie," he said, using that voice managers reserve for people they think they created. "We've got a press event Friday. The board wants me to demo NeuralGrid." I blinked. "You mean us?" He smiled. "You'll be there, of course. Behind the scenes. I'll handle the presentation. Optics, you know?" I laughed a little. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. That Friday, I stood backstage at Nexora's Innovation Summit, my heart pounding as Owen stepped onto the stage under a halo of blue light. I remember the way his voice echoed through the auditorium. "Today, I'm proud to unveil my team's creation, the Trask Protocol, the world's first self-learning energy grid." The audience roared. Cameras flashed. My code was on the screen. My variable names, my interface design. But my name was nowhere. I felt the air leave my lungs. I waited for him to correct it, to at least say our creation. But he never did. He just stood there, arms wide, taking the applause that used to belong to both of us. Later, when I confronted him, he didn't even flinch. "Ellie," he said, sipping from his glass of scotch. "You're brilliant, but you're not leadership material. I'm doing you a favor. The company will never rally behind a face they don't know." A face they don't know. 2 weeks later, I found out my access credentials had been revoked. My office was cleared. HR called it a restructuring. They offered me a position in facilities technical support, a polite way of saying janitorial maintenance. When I refused, they reminded me of the NDA I'd signed, the one that gave Nexora full ownership of everything I'd built. I remember sitting in my car in the parking garage that night, staring at my badge, trying to breathe. Everything I'd worked for had been rewritten under someone else's name. I was a ghost before I even left the building. That was the night I stopped being Eleanor Myles' lead systems engineer, and the night I started becoming someone else. Someone patient, quiet, and invisible enough to walk right back into the empire that erased her. Not to clean it, to dismantle it. The first time I saw Owen Trask's face on a billboard, I almost laughed. It was raining, the kind of sharp, metallic rain that soaks through your coat and into your bones. The ad flashed across the glass of the West Haven metro station. Nexora, building tomorrow, powered by the Trask Protocol. His smile was perfect. So was the lie. I stood there, holding my mop handle like a cane, watching droplets streak across his face until it blurred into static. Behind me, commuters rushed by, earbuds in, coffee cups clutched tight. No one noticed the janitor watching the man who stole her life. That was fine. Invisibility had its uses. That night, I went back to the sublevel data vault, officially Storage Sector 3. Unofficially, it was where Nexora kept legacy backups, forgotten drives, archived code, old security keys. I knew because I'd designed the system before they erased me from it. Under the flicker of a failing fluorescent light, I plugged in a handheld scanner. The screen glowed blue. Accessing. Nexora_system_core/legacy node MH03 My initials. My old dev node. Still there, buried deep in the system. I'd hidden a failsafe in the code years ago, a ghost in the machine. A secondary root shell only I could unlock. When I saw the line of text appear, root access available, authorization E. Myles, my hands shook. 12 years of silence had not erased me. I was still in there. The next morning, during the staff briefing, I rolled my cleaning cart into the conference corridor. Owen's voice carried through the glass. Our IPO goes live next month. NeuralGrid will redefine global energy management. Investors are calling it the century's innovation NeuralGrid. My creation. My name, stripped, polished, and repackaged under his. He never noticed me outside, polishing the same door he'd once slammed in my face. He never saw the way I watched the reflection of his presentation slides in the glass, my own equations flickering behind his words. When the meeting ended, I slipped a maintenance keycard into the slot on the wall and accessed the internal network node. Every janitor's closet had one, a little gray box that nobody ever looked at. I uploaded a single line of code. Initialize reclaim protocol. It didn't do anything yet, not visibly. It was just a seed, a beacon that would let me map every server connected to NeuralGrid. That night, in my apartment above a laundromat, I wrote my first email in years. The recipient, Nora Vale, investigative journalist, tech ethics columnist, the only reporter who'd ever questioned Nexora's rise. Subject: You once asked who really built NeuralGrid. I think it's time you found out. I didn't hit send. Not yet. Timing mattered. If I'd learned anything from Owen Trask, it was that power wasn't just what you had, it was when you used it. I saved the draft and leaned back, listening to the hum of my old desktop fan. I thought about the thousands of city blocks running on my code, the millions of lives unknowingly connected to the system I'd built, the empire powered by my silence. Tomorrow, I decided, silence ends. I wasn't just the janitor anymore. I was the ghost in the machine, and the machine still listened to me. The night Nexora went public, the city glowed like a live wire. Downtown West Haven was all screens and champagne, drone cameras hovering like fireflies over the rooftop gala. Inside Nexora Tower, the walls pulsed with electric pride. Banners reading, "The future is here," flickering over every surface. For most people, it was a celebration. For me, it was an autopsy. I arrived at 9:03 p.m., in uniform, pushing my cleaning cart through the front lobby. My badge still worked. No one ever disables the janitor's badge. Too unimportant, too ordinary. Security was tighter that night, but familiarity is its own invisibility cloak. I smiled when the guards waved me through. They didn't notice the fiber optic spool hidden beneath my mop bucket, or the data drive tucked under a roll of paper towels. The elevator hummed as it carried me to the 37th floor, the server operations deck. The place smelled like ozone and cold air. Dozens of glass racks glowed softly, humming with the power of the NeuralGrid system. My system. On the main screen, I could see the live ticker from the New York Stock Exchange. Nexo, $178.44, and climbing. The empire was richer by the second. I knelt beside the primary network console, unscrewed a maintenance panel, and connected my drive. The monitor blinked once. Authorization detected. E. Myles. Root privileges restored. My heart pounded. It was working. Lines of code cascaded across the screen. My code, alive again under my name. And then a voice behind me. Ellie? Owen. He stood in the doorway, tuxedo half undone, confusion flickering into recognition. What the hell are you doing? I straightened slowly, finishing what I started. He stepped closer. You can't be serious. We're about to make history. You'll destroy everything. I looked at him, the man who'd stolen my life and turned it into his legend. No, I said quietly. I'm just erasing your name from it. He lunged toward the console, but I was faster. One keystroke. Enter. Every screen in the room went black. Across the city, lights flickered. Traffic signals froze. Drones dropped from the sky like metallic snow. The skyline dimmed, one window at a time. until only the faint red glow of emergency lights remained. The Trask protocol, the heart of Nexora, was offline. Owen's voice rose in panic. "You don't understand. You'll crash the grid." I met his eyes. "The grid will reboot in 30 minutes, without your encryption, without your signature. It'll run on open code, for everyone." He froze. "You can't." I just did. The servers groaned, a mechanical sigh that sounded almost human. Outside, the city was quiet, eerily beautiful, stripped of its artificial pulse. For the first time in years, West Haven was dark enough to see the stars. Owen sank into a chair, pale, defeated. "They'll come after you," he whispered. I smiled, sliding the drive into my pocket. "They'll look for a ghost with a mop." Then I walked past him, down the silent hallway, through the stairwell, and out into the night air. Above me, the giant Nexora billboard flickered once, twice, and then went dark. The Empire had been unplugged. And somewhere, deep in the machine's reborn code, one line remained. A quiet signature, visible only to those who knew where to look. Created by E. Myles. The city woke up in silence. For the first time in years, there were no humming drones overhead, no AI traffic voices guiding the morning commute, no neon billboards whispering ads through smart lenses. West Haven felt human again. Confused, late, messy, but alive. By sunrise, every news channel was broadcasting one headline: Nexora Systems hacked, Trask protocol down. At first, they called it cyber terrorism, then sabotage. Then, as the code analysts dug deeper, the story changed. Someone had rewritten the core architecture of NeuralGrid, not destroyed it, freed it. The new system ran open source, transparent, untraceable. No one owned it anymore. Not the government, not the investors, not Nexora. It was public. The world didn't know who did it, but I did. I watched from my apartment, the same one above the laundromat, as the TV flickered with images of Owen Trask standing before the press, his perfect composure unraveling. "We are investigating a targeted attack," he said, sweat glinting under the lights. "Our internal review will identify those responsible." But even as he spoke, the code analysts were already talking online. Threads exploded across forums. Trask protocol built on stolen base code. Then came the screenshots, side-by-side comparisons of NeuralGrid's architecture and an older, forgotten project labeled E.Myles_V1.0. Within 24 hours, the narrative flipped. Owen wasn't the victim. He was the thief. By day 2, Nexora's stock collapsed. Board members resigned. Lawsuits followed. And somewhere in the chaos, a reporter named Nora Vale received an anonymous email. The draft I'd written weeks ago. Attached was a single file. The original NeuralGrid framework, time-stamped and signed with my encrypted ID. Her article dropped the next morning. The woman behind the code. How Eleanor Myles built, lost, and reclaimed the grid. Number. The photo she used wasn't flattering. A blurry security still of me in a janitor's uniform, pushing my cart through Nexora's halls. The world saw a ghost, a myth, a headline. I saw a confession. Within hours, my inbox filled with messages. Journalists, lawyers, whistleblower foundations, even an old friend from the engineering team. Everyone wanted to know why. But I wasn't ready to speak. Not yet. The FBI showed up that week. So did Nexora's private security contractors. They searched my apartment, my devices, my life. They found nothing. The access key, the drive, all gone, wiped, reduced to dust and silence. Legally, there was no proof I'd done anything. Ethically, There was proof of everything. West Haven adjusted faster than anyone expected. The open-source grid adapted itself, self-healing, learning from the people who used it. Neighborhood engineers began improving local nodes. Communities started generating their own energy, and for the first time, power flowed both ways, from the people to the people. And me? I kept working, quietly, anonymously. I fixed what was broken. I cleaned what needed cleaning. Sometimes with a keyboard, sometimes with a mop. One night, I passed a downtown cafe and saw a student coding on her laptop. She was using the open-source Grid API, my framework, and she didn't even know it. She was laughing, building something new, something hers. I smiled. I didn't need the credit anymore. I had something better. Freedom. They called me a janitor. They were right. I cleaned up their mess. A year after the blackout, Nexora Tower stood empty. The company's name had been stripped from the glass facade, leaving behind only the faint outline of the letters that once defined an empire. The building was scheduled for demolition. Too costly to maintain, too full of ghosts. Sometimes when my route took me nearby, I'd stop across the street and watch the reflection of the sunset bleed across its windows. For 12 years that place had owned me. Now it was just another hollow monument to ambition. They never found me. Not really. There were theories, of course. Reddit threads, documentaries, podcasts. The janitor hacker. The ghost in the grid. Some said I'd died in the blackout. Others believed I was still out there, rewriting the world line by line. Maybe they were all right. After the collapse, the grid became something no one predicted. A living, evolving network that no longer answered to any one company or government. People called it the Commons. It powered hospitals in low-income districts, restored traffic control to smaller cities, even provided free access to rural schools. My work, the one they'd stolen, the one I'd reclaimed, was now everyone's. And that was enough. I moved north, to a small town near the coast. The air smelled of salt and cedar, and no one there cared who I used to be. I fixed routers, cleaned solar panels, helped the community center install smart inverters. Some nights I'd sit outside on the porch, laptop open, watching the data flow across the grid's new public interface. Open, transparent, imperfect, human. That's when I saw it for the first time. A string of code appearing across the server log. A modification to one of the city nodes, signed with an unfamiliar ID. Then another, and another. Thousands of contributors. Students, freelancers, engineers. People building on top of what I'd built. And somewhere buried in the code base, someone had left a comment. Thank you, whoever you are. I don't cry easily, but that night, I did. Not because of what I'd lost, but because of what I'd set free. A few months later, a package arrived at my post office box. No return address. Inside was an old Nexora security badge. The plastic cracked and faded. My name was still on it. Eleanor Myles, systems engineer. No note, no explanation, just the badge. Maybe it was Owen. Maybe someone who'd guessed. Maybe fate cleaning up one last loose end. I buried it under the cedar tree behind my cabin. Sometimes I think about the girl I used to be, the one who wanted credit, titles, a corner office. I miss her sometimes. She was brave, before the world taught her what it costs to be seen. But the woman I became, she doesn't need a nameplate on a door. She has her code written across the veins of a city. The stars above West Haven shine brighter now, not because I unplugged the empire, but because the world learned to see in the dark. They called me the janitor. Maybe that's what I was all along, someone who clears away the dirt so something new can grow. And if someday, someone else decides the system needs cleaning, I hope they leave a line in the code too. Created by someone who refused to stay invisible.